Hello, Potato, and welcome to Just Add Water Wednesday, part 2 of Self-Heating September. Now, last week's episode, I feel, was a good learning experience. We, I think, ironed out all the problems I had with the first self-heating hot pot I did back at the 500 subscriber episode. And I think this week will be a much smoother experience as a result of that. But I am particularly glad we did that different one last week because the instructions on this week's are a little fudgier. This week, by a company that I can't even tell you the name of because it's not written in English anywhere, we have fish fillet with pickled soup. And that is going to be cod is the fish. And it's also going to have in it potato, lotus root, bamboo shoots, mushrooms, clouders, which I'm pretty sure are also mushrooms, bean sprouts, and then in the seasoning bag we have pickles, pickled greens, pickled ginger, pickled turnip, pickled chili, vegetable oil, fermented vinegar, salt. Also, lots of salt, tons of salt. This is another extraordinarily unhealthy dining option with 215% of your daily sodium in it and only 4 grams of protein. So I mean, I'm not going to make the it's healthy joke. It's absolutely not. It is more than 2 days worth of my sodium intake. And I said the instructions are a little fudgier, and they are. I mean, it's very similar to the last one. Put in the vermicelli and the vegetables and the fish. Put in the pickle and the seasoning. And then add the water. Now, the interesting thing is, for this, it says to add, where'd it go? I've lost it. It's very tiny print. Oh, here we go, yeah. It says boiling water is better. Now, that's for the soup, not for the heating pack. So that's very different from last time. Last time it just said drinking water. This one specifies boiling water, which it's not boiling anymore, but it's hot. It was boiling a couple of minutes ago. Then add cold water until the packet is submerged, and that's I feel like that's where, or it says submerge. Add cold water to submerge the heating pack, the self-heating pack. Very, very tiny print. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. So I feel like that's where we got in trouble the first time we did one of these. But last week we learned that this apparently is the Chinese for fill line. So I'm going to go with that again because it certainly looks like the same characters. I'm wondering if when I open this, if this outer label is just going to come off entirely. Because, I mean, clearly that label is in English. It has a North American nutrition label on it. And nothing else on here. Like, we don't have the English version of the company name. I have no idea who made this. I just know it's been distributed by Inno Foods out of San Bernardino. So let's open up and see what we have in here. It's a little bit bigger than the Haidilao one we did last week. But calorie-wise, I think it's about the same, 560. I think it's actually a little bit lower calorie. Sodium is about the same, maybe a little higher, but it is... It is, I think, a little bit lower in calories, which is funny given that it has actual, like, animal matter in it, as where last one was just vegetable. So how do we open this? Here we go. All right, so in here here is our fish packet. Here is our vegetable package. You can tell because it says vegetable package on it. The fish looks interesting, and maybe is that fat or... Maybe it's just fish that got kind of squished in. So, yeah, see, that looks like the same characters as there. So that's got to be Chinese for fill line. Here is our seasoning sauce packet. Here is our, it feels like maybe a little bit smaller heating pack. Oops, I need that. And here is our equally tiny vermicelli packet, and we do not get chopsticks on this one. We get a fold-up fork and a little tiny soup spoon. So no chopsticks this time. So we will have to learn to live with that. All right, so let's put our soup together. We have our vermicelli packet. Very, very tiny. Honestly, this is a lot bigger of a container for what looks to be about the same size as soup. Maybe it's to help it cook. Maybe the extra space in there makes it cook better. This one doesn't specify what order to put the... Well, I was right that it came off, but I kind of thought there'd be another label underneath it. This one doesn't specify what order, does it? I mean, I don't think it matters. I'm going to stir it all up. But tear off the vermicelli packet, vegetables, fish. So I guess fish goes in last. I really don't think it matters. Let's put the pretty label facing the camera. There we go. All right. I think ultimately all that matters is that the seasoning go on top of it all. And again, we have a tear-off spot on here, but they've unfortunately squidged all the veg to the side with the tear-off pouch. All right, let's see if we can't get our vegetables in here. And of course, it all looks very, very similar to last week's, because it's very, very similar vegetables. We have our potato. I think we have more potato. Last week we didn't get a lot of potato. We've got some bean sprouts. Those are new. We've got our lotus root. We've got, I'm going to say on the whole, less mushroom. We have no kelp. The bamboo shoots seem a little thicker, like they're actually more bamboo stalks. But, what are these little white bits? Are these more mushrooms? What are those? It must be more mushroom. Potato, lotus root, bamboo shoots, mushrooms, cloud ears, bean sprouts. Are those the beans from the bean sprouts, maybe? Could be the beans from the bean sprouts, I suppose. Oh yeah, some of them are actually attached to the bean sprouts. So those are the beans from the bean sprouts. Ooh, look at that big old hunk of mushroom there. Yeah, I won't be eating that. I'm not a big fan. Honestly, I didn't find the mushroom in the last two of these self-eating ones like horribly offensive, but I'm still not a fan of mushrooms. That didn't open the package. There we go. Oh, in case you're wondering, this particular one, unlike last week's, is actually in date. It is good until December. Oh, so we can get some air into our fish packet here. Ah, it smells like fish. All right, there's our fish. I am assuming that is going to loosen up and be like separable once the soup gets all heated up. And then we need our seasoning packet, which does not appear to have a tear spot on it. So to make our own. There we go. What's that smell like? Well, definitely doesn't smell as spicy as the last week's. Let me try a little bit of it. But there's spice there. That is definitely spicy. It may not have all the big chunks of oh, that is almost got kind of almost like a little curry kick to it. Yeah, that's definitely a spicy one. So I'm gonna say right now, if you don't like spice, you won't like this. Because that it's good flavor though. It's not as sour, I would say, as last week's. But then again, it's not advertising itself as sour. All right, so we're gonna put our previously boiling water in here up to the fill line as instructed. It's a much nicer day out here today. Last week it was a little sunny. This week it's nice and cloudy. It feels more like a September should. And let's try to keep the trees from kamikazing anything into my food. I'll cover that up while we do the heating packet. Yes, the heating packet. So, gonna fill this up to this line down here in the bottom, which you probably can't see because of the angle of the camera. But sadly, this is my camera's arm as high as it goes. My table's crooked this week. It's not I don't feel like it's as even as it was last week. And another part where this is squidgy is the cooking time. It says like 15 to 20 minutes is where like last time just said 15. And I don't know if it must have to do with like the with whether or not you use boiling water or not. But I think we're gonna go with 17 just to make sure everything is good and hot. But can you read that? I'm not wearing my glasses. I never am. But yeah, 15 to 20 minutes. Right there. So we'll do it for 17. All right, got our heating packet here. Does look very similar to last time. All right, so we're going to drop that in and wait for it to start to puff up. I think that was a good plan last time. It was just when I started seeing it react. That's when I moved into action. I'm not going to keep handling it this time though. Okay, I can see it's saturating, but it's not puffing up yet. Just agitate it a bit maybe. Oh, there it goes. All right, so you can see it's starting to boil. So let's get our soup in there. We don't want to waste that lovely, lovely steam. Throw our lid on, which unfortunately the cover art blocks the vent hole. So I guess maybe we need to remove that somehow. Oh, it's just double stick tape. Okay, let's take that off. And let her rip. Well, it's not going as violently as last time, but we are getting steam here. And again, it may not matter. Maybe that's part of why it's meant to go longer, because it's a less violent pack. Oh. Let's set our timer and let it go. I'll see you back here in about 18 minutes. And yes, I can hear it bubbling away in there. It may not be shooting steam out in like a jet like it did in last week's, very briefly anyways, but it definitely is boiling. I can hear it. Can you hear it? I don't think you can hear it. See you in a few minutes. And after many years of service, it seems that my timer has dialed. There it starts now. Yeah. So, well, we'll just get rid of that. For the fat lot of good it did. And check out our soup. It has been like at least 17 minutes, so I'm not worried about it not being done. Plus, the steam does seem to have stopped, so I think it's either run out of water or the pack has burnt itself out. But there we have it. Yeah, it's much, much less red than that last one. The fish, but definitely it's hot. You can see the steam coming off it. The fish does not seem to have like softened up at all, which kind of disappoints. I was kind of hoping that would just kind of flake apart and we could kind of mix it in to the vegetables. But that doesn't really seem an option. A little effort we can get it apart, but like more effort than I was kind of expecting to have to put into this part of it. All right. So get everything all nice and stirred up. Get our vermicelli up here. It is quite hot. Of course, we started with boiling water, so that makes sense, right? Just heated hot water. Try. Actually, now it smells kind of similar to last week's. Maybe it's just, time and suggestion, but It doesn't smell that different heated up than last week's did. It's definitely more sour though. And the heat is different. The heat in last week's, in the Hai Di Lao pot, came on pretty quick. This one takes a second or two and builds up in the throat. Which, you know, if I had a cold or something, this might be good. Let's try a little bit of fish. Or I guess a big bit of fish. You don't get a ton of fish. All right, here is our, I think it was cod, right? Let's give that a try. Nice. Flaky. A little dry. Comes apart in the mouth easily. But yeah, it's a little dry. I'm assuming that's to do with the preparation method and the preservation method. But the flavor in it's nice. The texture could be better. Let's try some lotus root. This is one thing I really enjoyed out of the Hai Di Lao one, so let's see how I like it out of this one. I'm going to say it's crunchier than the cooked Hai Di Lao. It's more like the Hai Di Lao one was when I first tried it before cooking it. Here is, I was going to say potato, but it looks almost like ginger, or is this one of the mushrooms? No, it's just potato. It just looked weird. Yeah, it just tastes like potato. This is more potato than the Hai Di Lao one. The Hai Di Lao only had like 3 or 4 pieces of potato. This has seemingly considerably more. What else is in here? Bamboo shoot. Let's find a bamboo shoot. There is a bamboo shoot. Let's try one of those. Not bad. I think I commented last week that bamboo shoots really weren't doing it for me, but I think they could grow on me. I mean, the lotus root was kind of a winner straight off, as far as I was concerned, but the not so much on the bamboo shoots. That's just like a really, really long noodle. I'm trying to get, there we go. Trying to get us a spoonful of the vermicelli here. Always a trick with a small spoon. All right, let's see. Let's get a little broth in there, maybe. And there we go. All right, let's try the vermicelli. The vermicelli picks up the spice very well. I guess try a bean sprout, and then I'll try a mushroom. Not a fan of the mushrooms, but we'll try a mushroom. Bean sprout's a bean sprout. Got a little crunch to it still. That's nice. All right, and here's some mushroom. Again, not a fan, but that has a much slimier texture than the ones in last week's. The flavor is basically non-existent. It just kind of tastes like the soup, but yeah, I don't love that texture at all. But overall, the fish is a nice addition. The fish is definitely better than the sausage that I had in that one on the 500 subscriber special. So that's a plus. You don't get a ton of it, but it's some pretty good chunks when you do. See if we can get some potato there. Sort of a fish and chip sort of a thing. Always got to be that one noodle. That one noodle is just way too long, hangs off. All right, let's just get rid of that noodle. Can we get rid of that noodle? There we go. All right, let's try some fish and potato on its own. I like that fish. The texture is not perfect. It's a little dry, but the flavor is decent. And yeah, overall, I'm going to say that I do like the fish. Fish is the best part of this. The lotus root's good. I like lotus root, but the fish is definitely the best part of this meal, it's a big old piece of lotus root, isn't it? Let's have some more of that with some, well, we're not vermicelli. So overall, even though I don't like the mushrooms and it's missing kelp, I think I like this one a little bit better than last week's. On the whole, it's maybe not quite as hot. Like, I don't feel like I'm going to start coughing as I eat this one, and that definitely was an issue I had with last week's. But it's similar enough flavor. But I mean, you can tell it's not going to be as spicy. It doesn't have the big chunks of pepper, and it's not like a bright red broth. And yeah, it's not as hot. It's still hot. If you don't like spicy food, you're still not going to like this. But it's definitely not as hot as last week's. Well, it looks like it's going to start raining out here, so I think I'm going to go finish my lunch. And we'll end this video here. This was, I think, a much more successful entry into Self-Heating September than last week's. We know what we're doing now. Next week should be a breeze. So I hope you found this all interesting or entertaining. If you did, go ahead, give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.